as one of the very best. He's one of the stars of the new BBC One show Dead Ringers, of which I am a dedicated fan.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, loyal servant to the true Emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife. But that's when I called claims direct. Generous cash settlement within 90 days. So if a member of your family has suffered a fall at work, tripped on a loose paving stone, or been brutally slaughtered by the Emperor's soldiers, call claims direct today on MCX XXVI. It's MCX XXVI. Because if our lawyers don't win your case, they'll receive no fee. And I'll see personally. They'll put to the sword.
Told you it was good. Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Culshaw. I should imagine Russel Crowe's quite easy to do, isn't he, Russell?
Yeah, you know, I remember when he was your guest, you know, the other week, you know, he started off with that sort of like, you know, slightly disgruntled sort of Aussie tone. But, you know, pretty soon he warmed to you. He did. And then he was telling you stories about when he was flat out like a lizard drinking and all that sort of stuff.
I just hope he doesn't see this interview. I'll not stick up for you.
Yeah, I don't care, you know, Russell Crowe, anybody, I'll take him on, no problem. Yeah, no problem whatsoever.
You love doing boxers, don't you?
I do.
Why is that?
I don't know.
What is it about boxers particularly?
I think in Frank Bruno's case, you know, I'm a sort of small guy, and, you know, the voice of the former heavyweight champion of the world shouldn't come out of my body, you know, that's sort of against the laws of physics, you know.
So which other boxes do you do? You do Lennox Lewis, don't you?
Oh, boy, yeah, definitely. Hey, you know, I'm just going to go out there. I don't care what Mike Tyson says. I'm just going to knock him spark out. Oh, boy. So, he's cool, Lennox. I like his coolness.
Yes.
Kind of ice cool. And, of course, Christopher Livingston Eubank. You know, he is also a wonderful character. I don't know whether he's been on this program because he might have trouble saying Parkinson. You know? But maybe that day will come.
What makes a good impression? I mean, what do you have to do to be satisfied yourself with a good impression?
I think you start off with a character which has very recognisable foibles and idiosyncrasies, something you can really get a hold of. And then to actually do it, you have to almost imagine that you are possessed by that person.
Possessed?
Yes. You see that person in your mind's eye and you imagine what they're saying, what they're doing. I'm imagining Ian Hislop right now. You know, that sort of, you know, quirky movement that he does and that sort of eye-popping and, you know, that sort of head movement. It's hard to stop sometimes.
Now, you've done two things, actually, two of the daring things that you've done as an impressionist, or two of the most daring things. One is that you've set up stunts where you have to convince people over the telephone that you are actually somebody else. And then you've also confronted people with themselves. I mean, in a show called Alter Ego, what you do is you disguise yourself as the person you're going to interview.
Yes.
So therefore, you interview Patrick Moore.
Yes. You sort of interview the person and become them at the same time. And you get this lovely reaction from the people. At first they're a little bit scared and they don't quite know how to take it and they're on the border of laughter and terror, and then they start to get into it and they start to... I remember when Dale Winton came on. He started off, he was a very frightened little lamb at first, and he was sort of backing away from me and sort of, oh dear, what's going on? And then as the interview went on, he started playing, oh, sweetheart! Oh, my darling, we've had, you know, we've had this most wonderful career, haven't we, my darling? You know, he enjoyed it as it went on.
You're going to do in Frank Bruno, aren't you, in the next series of it? Yes. That would be tough. I mean, how do you... What do you exactly...
Well,
you just think you're not a big chap, so how do you get to look like Frank Bruno?
I think a taller stool, you know, to keep our head at the same level to start with. Maybe I should do the interview standing on a ladder. But it's going to take a 6-hour makeup job.
Yes.
There'll be prosthetics and it will take a long time. And I love seeing the finished product, you know, with those very extensive makeup jobs that have to be done in impressionist shows. And I remember when we did the Alter Ego show, I was done up as Patrick Moore. That took 4 hours to do, and a good friend of mine is Chris Moyles from Radio 1 who came to watch.
Yes.
And he couldn't look at me. He said, "John, I can't look at you. Just go away, go away." And it really freaked him out. And
it's a wonderful disguise. Yeah. So we've got it here. Let's be reminded of it. Yeah, this is
the two Patricks.
These are the two Patrick Moores.
So, some very happy memories there. Now, do you think that the Big Bang was possibly caused by God leaving the gas on and then accidentally sparking up a ciggy?
I know one thing. I wasn't there. Neither were you.
No, it was nothing to do with us.
No, we weren't there.
Being an astronomer is, of course, splendid, but it does leave you at rather a loose end during the day.
No, not really, though. There's plenty of sun up there, you can see it.
Indeed, and this is the very point. We needed something to occupy the daylight hours.
Yes.
And so, to fill this void, we took up cricket. Now, 2 teams of men, dressed in white and cream. One of them chucks the ball like a big golf
No,
glass.
he doesn't chuck the ball. That's illegal. He bowls it.
Ah.
You chuck it, illegal.
I see.
Certainly.
Well, he would have
You
been...
should know, sir. You should know far better than that.
I'm terribly sorry.
You should, yes. They're quite wrong. Okay, well, you go to see rules. That is a chuck.
Yes.
That's called a no ball.
It was very wrong.
And the ball's still... It's called a no ball. And the ball's still there, you understand? It's called a no ball.
Well, surely...
Do you understand?
Well, I do.
You understand that?
No, I do.
Don't make a mistake again, please.
No, I won't. It was very important that I made that error. I will make every effort for that not to be repeated.
Please. Now, continue. Carry on.
For someone of our superior intelligence, isn't cricket a bit bloody daft?
oh dear. Love all that.
They're rich characters. They're gifts to you, I suppose.
Oh, completely. Patrick Moore, talking very, very quickly indeed, waving his finger, trying to out-eccentric me. It was wonderful to witness that. It really was.
Absolutely. What about, and of course, that's directly in line with the other thing I talked about, of what you've made your name doing. And that was on radio, was calling people up and pretending to be somebody else. Now, famously, you did it to Tony Blair, didn't you?
Yes. I gained somewhat of a reputation for doing spoof phone calls, and just one moment... It was a very lucky, once-in-a-lifetime moment, you know. I just perfected the William Hague impression. He had just become leader of the Conservative Party. That's party spelled P-A-R-T-E-H, party. And, you know, the idea was, you know, one morning, why don't we phone Downing Street? You know, it was a Wednesday morning, and I think at that time the Prime Minister's preparing for question time. So we thought, you know, let's phone 10 Downing Street, and, you know, maybe a bit of comedy will come from the person on the switchboard saying, "No, you can't speak to the Prime Minister, go away, stop wasting our time." And, you know, that would have a bit of comedy value in it. So we made this call, just got the number from Director Inquiries for Downing Street. It was as preposterously easy as that. I think they may have changed it now, since then. But we just phoned up and, "Hello, Downing Street." "Oh, yes, hello, it's William Hague from the Conservative Party. I wondered if I could speak to Tony, please." Because, you know, this was in the time when Tony Blair was saying, you know, let's be informal, just call me Tony. No need for Mr. Blair, you know, wispy hair, generous expression, emphatic hand gesture. And so we phoned Tony Blair expecting to be, you know, sent away, but the lady said, "Oh, yes, I'll just go and get him for you." You know, this was not supposed to happen. And then there was a few moments' pause, and the lady came back and said, "Yes, Mrs. Blair's just gone to fetch him from his bedroom for you." So, you know, this, you know, image of the Prime Minister walking down in his ministerial Rupert Bear pyjamas, you know, to come and speak to us. And, you know, he came on the line, "Hello? Yes, hello, Tony." And this was when he clicked. It was a joke, because although it was the time of year, just call me Tony, yes, Hague was always formal and addressed him as Prime Minister.
Yes,
so Tony Blair played along good natured.
He played along, did he?
Yes, he did.
All right.
Yes.
What about other stunts that you've pulled? Which have been some of your favourites?
We got into a bit of trouble on Radio 1 for calling Lennox Lewis on the night of his big fight as Frank Bruno, you know, first time to wish him well. And Lennox said, "Oh, yeah, you know, thanks, Frank, that's great, man. Second time to say, listen, if you know, want to get some Panto tickets when you come back, just call me." You know. And then we called one more time to say, no, listen, Lennox, if you get beaten, you don't get the heavyweight title back. If you want to get into Panto, I can get a few roles for you. I can pull a few strings. And, oh, come on, Frank, I've got the big fight tomorrow. I'm trying to get the title back. Stop bothering me, man. And we got into a bit of trouble for that. It was posted on the BBC Sport website, Lennox gets rude awakening, and all of this sort of stuff. But there was a trick here, because Chris Moyles and me had this idea that I should do the voice of Lennox, and it not be the real Lennox.
So it wasn't, so you conned them all?
Yes, everybody thought we disturbed Lennox and hated us for a while, so that was pretty good.
You also, I mean, you used to ring up hotels and make preposterous arrangements, didn't you, on behalf of famous people?
Yeah, one of them being Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yes. I'm a very tired Jedi. I need to book a room. Is there a place where I can recharge my lightsaber?
I'm sure we can fix that up, sir.
Will the room be well lit? Last time it was a little on the dark side. Oh, there was... I think we phoned up Fortnum and Mason once. Says, I'm telling you, this is Shaggy. Rebel rapper Shaggy. And he just rapped his shopping list down the phone to this bewildered shopkeeper. I want a deluxe toilet seat for me, brother. I just have a spanner set for me, brother. I'm afraid we don't do toilet seats or haberdashery, sir. You just get the image of this bewildered person on the other end of the line. It's great.
It's very childish, but it's funny. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
Yeah, you also did a Rolf Harris thing too, didn't you? Where you
Yeah, we did.
The National Gallery.
Yeah, that was great. We got the number of the people who look after the Turner Prize. So we followed them up and we phoned them up and said, hey, I've done a little picture. I want to enter it. You know, for the Turner Prize, you know. How can I really impress Anthea, you know?
No, it's not Anthea Turner, so,
That was rather nice.
As you do voices, you study voices, you have to. You study tapes of them and so on. Do you come to any conclusions? Is there a pattern in certain voices? Are there certain voices that are similar? The kind of, you know, sort of, I've got a kind of voice, you've got a kind of, which are going to assemble around a lot of people who we know.
Yeah, there are some characters whose personalities may be completely different, poles apart, but their voices can be very, very close.
you know, John Major is one. If you make him a bit more aggressive, he goes into Michael Caine. Or if you go back to John Major and make him a bit effeminate, he goes into Julian Clary.
Which shouldn't happen, but it seems to. Another of my favourite examples of that is, you know, if you do Russell Crowe. Once again, my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, my old man's a dustman, whatever the speech is. You know, he's actually very close to Les Dawson. Oh, dear, the Emperor's slaughtered all my neighbours. It's not They should be close together, but they are.
Well, you did all your preparation, all your sort of apprenticeship, if you like, in radio, didn't you?
Yes, yes.
And then now come to television. Is there, when you look at, I mean, it's Bremner and Alice McGowan now, isn't it? Who was your heroes? Who were the people who inspired you?
I've got a great affection for Mike Yarwood, who, you know, I consider to be, you know, really the Muhammad Ali of impressionists.
Really?
And I used to love him as a kid. It was Mike Yarwood and then your show as a kid. It was fabulous. Yeah, I think Mike Yarwood would be my favourite.
And I suppose like him, and I mean, you grew up as a part of the TV generation, so those are the people who you first started doing. So what's the logical step now then? I mean, you've got the Dead Ringers. I mean, if that takes something, you become this big star, which you're going to be, I'm sure, because the show's wonderful. No, I mean that very, very, very sincerely, folks. Very sincerely, I mean that. It's a very good show indeed. What about the range? You've got an extraordinary range, actually, of voices, more than most people do impressions. I mean, what are the ones that you find very difficult to do? The ones that you think, no, I can't touch that one?
I guess it's... Robbie Williams took a long time to learn because of, you know, the Stoke accent. Are you all right? Do you want a bag of chips? It's very specific, and you've got to get that absolutely right. Or some other difficult ones might be, you know, the Aussie crocodile hunter, Steve Irwin.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
crazy.
Because he takes a lot of energy to do. Oh, no. And it really is quite painful. Yeah. And you're exhausted after a very short time.
So, You can do characters like him, but it's a little painful. I've just gone into John Peel for no reason at all. don't quite know what that happened.
Doing that, actually.
Yeah,
when you're just talking out with friends,
yeah.
all of a sudden you sort of go into an impression for no reason
I
at all.
drive them mad, but they know when to tell me to shut up.
That's right. Anyway, as I said, it's a great show. I wish you well. I hope it does extend to a series. I'm sure it will. Jon Culshaw, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done.